Live right here again on YouTube. This is a live video. I'm Brother Jamal, and we're live with you. Um, Radio station KUCB give you a little background information like we always like to do. Want to let you know that KUCB was founded in the early 80s, 81, 82, somewhere around there. Founders Miss Joanne Cheatham, brother Charles Knox. And we had 10-watt low powered educational radio station. We were on the air for about 20 years. We had about 60, 65 volunteers. We were, and we were able to serve the Des Moines area, plus outside of Des Moines, we were able to serve the outer areas of Des Moines that 20-year span. On some our signal would travel to Iowa City, Iowa. Sometime we would travel to Ames, Iowa, which is Iowa City, Iowa is about 100 miles outside of Des Moines going east. Ames, Iowa is about 30 miles from Des Moines going west. Um, so we were able to both were college towns. We were able to people were able to pick us up in those two places. And like I said, depending on the weather condition, the night and everything, the weather oftentimes our signal will carry a clear night. Our signal will carry further than it would say if the weather was cloudy or raining or snowing something like that. So um, once again, the founders of radio station KUCB was Joanne Cheatham, Brother Charles Knox. I had the honor to work with Sister Hada Shaw Mary on. We did a show called the International Final Call Hour on Saturday afternoon. We did a weekly show called the African Liberation Hour where we co-hosted that, and we also did a show on Sunday was entitled Towards Understanding Islam, where we alternated the Sundays and did that show. Look back about radio station KUCB. These segments that we've been doing here on YouTube is for the purpose of talking about the black girls and black women who are missing at this particular time. And so what we've been trying to do is do a series of shows where we talk about this. Um, we should be really, really concerned about this kind of thing that's going on. We really should be. I don't know if we are. I don't know if we're outraged or what. But let me give you this little background information. I don't know if most of you recall that during the 1980s, when we had the Atlanta child murders that were taking place, like 29 some children got murdered, mostly black boys. There were like two or three adults that got murdered in the end. But when that thing really jumped off, when it really started, it was young black males who were getting murdered in Atlanta, and it was about 29 of them got murdered. And you know what I remember? I remember me and my friend, brother Charles Knox. We traveled to Atlanta. To Atlanta was like a ghost town. Everyone was staying in the house. No one was getting out. No one was doing. The city was just tripleized. I mean, it was like dead because everybody was so afraid. I don't know if people remember that or not. And we have a tendency to forget how easy it is for us to get stuff. I say it again. The Atlanta child murders that took place in 1980, around the 80s, 29 black boys, some older black men also got killed too, but it was mostly young black boys, young black males who were being murdered in Atlanta, Georgia. And that was a scare to the whole city of Atlanta to even reach beyond that because people were so shocked. Well, here we are. Guess what? Here we are in 2019, situation where black women and black girls are being murdered, being snatched up, they're disappearing. All kind of things are going on. And let me tell you, let me say something to you about what I think is so alarming, what's so sickening about it. Supposedly, leaders and prominent religious people that we have. All these BET just did the NWCB just did a award banquet, and I'd be thinking to myself, these guys saying anything about this? I don't know if they're afraid. I don't know if they're getting hush money. I don't know what it is, but nobody is mentioning anything about this, and it's the most cowardly thing that I ever heard or seen of, where all these people that's got these prominent big time talk shows, all these celebrities, all this, nobody is saying nothing. It's like it's not even happening. And I'm saying to myself, how can you call yourself a black man and black woman and not being outraged and not be saying something, speaking out, doing press conferences, doing something about the black women and black girls that are missing? And brother, may his soul rest in peace, beloved brother Dick Gregory, when he came out with a analogy of what was going on in Atlanta and how he thought the white supremacist groups were connected to the Atlanta child murders. And I know nobody wanted to believe that. They wanted to put him off to the side like he didn't know what he was talking about. And so what is so unusual for us to as that the revolution will not be televised. Do you think these people gonna honestly come on TV and say what they're doing and televise what they're doing? If you think that, you are crazy and insane and out of your mind if you think they're gonna do that. That ain't gonna happen. And so all of a sudden we have these black women, black girls are missing. Let me just give you a little history and I'll bring you up to date to right now. I talked about in a town called Berkeley, Missouri, north of St. Louis. Since 2000, that's been about 33 disappearance of kids. Out of the 33, do you know 12 of those 33 have been black girls? Berkeley, Missouri, who have disappeared from that town. Berkeley, Missouri. Philadelphia, the last couple of months, you had about 7 black girls to go missing there. Now, don't you think it's something wrong with that? And what if y'all, white supremacist groups have infiltrated into law enforcement, into these police departments, and could be murdering all black women and black girls, could be snatching them up, could be kidnapping them? What if that was happening? Because I know we don't think that could happen. I know we don't think that could go on. We don't think that they would do it in America. That is the most insane, absurd thing I ever heard of. Just like with the Atlanta child murders, we never thought, I never gave it any thought, I would think that the white supremacist groups would do anything like that. See, uh, in and this here's another situation that just happened too. A black sister who was also the first female U.S. came up in the Hudson River. This has been documentation. Her body come up in the Hudson River. A black Muslim female judge in New York City. Her body discovered in the Hudson River, and they are finding it, treating it as a suspicious murder. Because that's what it is. They murdered this sister, y'all, and we ought to be outraged. We ought to be alarmed about that. Amber Evans, a 28-year social activist in Columbus, Ohio, her body was found in the Columbus River, Ohio River, where she had been, obviously she had been murdered. Her car was abandoned and they found her body. See? So I'm saying there is something wrong with this picture. Do these black girls could be kidnapped either in sex trafficking, either as sex slaves, or just being kidnapped, and some of them are coming up murdered. Some of them are coming up dead. We also have a black sister, 30 years of age, who is missing in Indiana. She was scheduled to start her 5 a.m. job shift, bread company, bread in Indiana, and she made it to her job. She's this is a sister now who is a mother, 30 years of age, Avon, Indiana. She never made it to her shift, to her job. And that unusual, a 16-year-old black girl missing in Burbage, a teenage black girl is missing. They say she's still missing though. Fox 5 News reported in county a girl is missing. This is Georgia, okay, then Northwest Georgia. Karen Williamson, 3/20/2019. This is Harlem and Bronx, New York, missing, a missing black girl. We ought to be alarmed about these things that are going on. We should be alarmed about them. You know, Fox 32 News, missing 15-year-old black girl from Chicago is missing. We don't find this stuff uh, nothing suspicious about all this. We should. You know, black women and black girls who are coming up missing, not only missing, but they are finding where some of these black girls have been murdered, are dead. In two incidents, Evans in Columbus, Ohio, her body was found in the Columbus River. Male Muslim judge in New York, her body was found in the Hudson River. You know, young sister out in California, they found her body, trying to identify her body on a bike trail in a duffel bag. So I'm saying, don't we find these things that are happening to black women, black girls? We should be alarmed and we should be outraged. See, because things are happening and they are going on as we speak. This ain't nothing that we talking about. Yeah, some of them has happened. Some of these young ladies and these young women are still missing, and the family members and the loved ones are going out of their mind because they don't know what happened has happened to their daughter, to their child, to somebody's mother. They don't know. So once again, we're saying, say to young women and young girls out there, and this is on a serious tip. When something's wrong at home, you don't need to run away, because I'm gonna tell you on a serious tip, when you run away, the street you'll run into is much worse than the situation that you may be dealing with or facing with at home. I know sometimes young girls, 13, 14, 15 years old, they want to be grown, want to be older than what they are. Well, the streets right now is no joke. And so when you run out here, because they got sex trafficking, they said a pipeline for sex trafficking runs from New York to Atlanta, from Atlanta to New York, right comes right through the Midwest. So I'm saying sex trafficking is big time, sex slavery is big time, and all this stuff is going on. So young girls and young women, you can easily get snatched up in that. Or if you out at nighttime, you out clubbing on the weekend, you out with your girls, you out somewhere driving by yourself. I would say to any young girl, any young African American woman, black woman, if you don't have to be out at nighttime, it's best that you don't. We're not saying you don't have a right to go where you want to go. Yes, you can. But in nowadays, in the time we're living in, with all these young black women and young girls coming up missing, you around us all the time. You should be conscious, because you don't never know who could have eyes on you, who could be watching you, who could be watching how you go and come. So many of these young black girls have headed out to school, headed out to work, never even made it to work. Some of them made it to work and didn't make it home. Coming from school, coming from work, did not make it home. Might have got to where they were going, but they didn't make it back. Some of them didn't get to where they were going. They just disappeared. And I'm saying, anyone out there, anybody out there who catch these videos and have seen something, know something, they ought to be reporting it and letting people know. You know, it has happened to someone, someone has disappeared, their family is worried out of their mind. You ought to let people know, let the authorities know if you know something about what's going on. I'm saying, out the white supremacist groups have infiltrated into these police departments, have infiltrated into certain law enforcement, and they could very well be involved in all of this. They could very well be involved in it. You cannot rule that out. You see, you cannot think that that's not possible, because just like with the Atlanta child murders back in 1980, in the 80s, I remember our beloved brother Dick Gregory brought this up, talked about it, expounded on it. See, and we cannot rule it out with the kind of hatred that's out here, especially towards people of color. You cannot rule any of those things out. I'll say it once again: black girls and black women, you ought to be aware of your surroundings. When you go somewhere, you ought to let people know where you're going. Let people know if you got to where you was going. Say if it was school, you know, if it was going to work, you need to let somebody know. It ain't about nobody trying to get in your business and being nosy, but it's about you being safe. That's what it's about, being safe. Because we're living in a time, in a day, where there's so much racism, so much hatred out here towards people of color, and especially towards black people. They don't care whether it's a black child, a black boy, a black girl, a black woman. They don't care. See, some people do not care. So I'm saying, why put yourself in harm's way? If you know something is going on, say for example, you in Philadelphia, you know, and you got seven black girls who have just disappeared the last couple of months. Why would you be out late at night? Or why would you be going in a certain area? Why would you be out walking? Why would you be out driving in an area where you know that you shouldn't be? Now I know sometimes these young women, sometimes these young girls get involved in some of these crazy men that ain't got no sense. You hear me? Ain't got no sense, ain't got no respect or nothing. Sometimes they get involved in them, get involved with them, call themselves a boyfriend, thinking they in love with them, and all of a sudden they can flip the script on you. See, you thinking you know somebody, and you don't know them. Getting in somebody's car that you don't know, riding somewhere with a stranger, getting in some man's car that you don't know nothing about, because you may think whatever. You being at the club, somebody walking to your car, somebody giving you a ride, all of that crazy stuff. See, it can be your last ride to wherever destination. It can be your last ride. See, I'm saying, once again, I want to say to any black girls and any black women that catch this video, you need to be aware of your surroundings. Do you not know sometime in these cities, the motels, the abandoned houses, the abandoned buildings become a place where they hold these women for sex trafficking, where they hold them for sex slavery? And in some cases, we see where our sisters are being murdered. They straight up being murdered, like this black female Muslim judge in New York. She was murdered, found her body in the Hudson River. See, Amber Evans, a young 28-year-old social activist in Columbus, Ohio, found her body in the Columbus River. She was murdered. A young sister, a Jane Doe, some time back, they found her body in the Las Vegas, Arizona, somewhere at a truck stop. Found her body dumped off. She didn't have no identification on her. And so things are happening, y'all. I don't know what is so complicated about us not realizing the time that we're living in and what's going on and what's happening with these black girls and black women who are missing. And you see, it's not getting in where it's a decrease, it's increasing every day. So much of this is increasing. So I'm saying to pass this video on to anyone that you may know. And I'll say it again, black woman, if you don't have to be out at nighttime, you really don't need to be out. You don't need to be roaming the streets. You don't need to be driving or hanging out or going in certain areas because anything could happen when you out. And let me tell you something else too. In a couple of these cases, two or three cases, they young black girls and black women, they found their cars were parked and it was abandoned. This is a pattern I've seen in three cases where the car, they cell phone and they personal items were found and the car was abandoned. So that means that somebody took them out of the car and took them and murdered them. You know, the car had been abandoned. There was no they weren't there with the car. The car was somewhere. They'd been taken out. Like I said, the young sister in Columbus, Ohio, Amber Evans, her body was found in the Columbus River. The sister who was a black female Muslim judge, her body came up in the Hudson River. So I'm saying they were both murdered. The young sister on the bike trail out in the California area, she was murdered, you know? So you've been AUCB, pass this video to people that you may tell them to watch it, listen. Once again, a radio station KUCB special broadcast. We're doing a series of broadcasts and we continue, inshallah, to continue to do these broadcasts